And actually, speaking about white liberal women, we're just going to get into this. What is up, everybody? This is New Black America. I got Price in the building. I got my co-host Carmen JC in the building. What is up, everybody? How you guys doing? How you doing?
Yo, I'm trying to look a little more fancy, even though I'm not used. I'm trying to put my mic in so I could look like y'all and shit.
Oh yeah, put the mic in. Yeah, for
Put
sure.
the mic in there. Right.
There we go. Now I look a little more professional.
Yes, that's right. The mic makes a huge difference. It really does. All right. So this week, the Supreme Court is reviewing two key cases regarding whether or not trans girls are going to be allowed to play in women's sports. So this is a very big week for female sports. I feel like over the last 10 years, but really 5 years, the Biden administration, we have gone through hell and back with this like transgender stuff. It's really taken over America in ways that we didn't think were possible because it's such a small minority of people that even identify as transgender, that even really have gender dysphoria. But I want to bring your guys' attention to these two cases, okay? So I made this for you guys. It's Little versus Hecox, and also this is the big one that I've been following is Becky Pepper Jackson in West Virginia versus Jackson. So both of these women are track stars, or not women. Both of these dudes, these trans females are clearly masculine deficient men who can't compete in track in their own gender bracket, like they come in last. And so they transition over to female sports and they're beating all the female sports. Becky is especially egregious because she's taken 57 medals from girls. And you know, her case is very interesting, and we're going to get into it a little bit more as we go. But basically, what her and her mother are trying to argue is that she doesn't have an advantage when it comes to being a man and playing in female sports because he never went through male puberty. So this trans female's mother has had this kid on puberty since he was in third grade, which is insane. So I just want to play you guys a clip of Becky Pepper Jackson and his mother. And I want to get your guys' thoughts of what you think about this lady, because this is the case that's going to make it or break it for women's sports. Whether or not trans women are going to be allowed in women's sports in the future. And so I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I'm going to play this clip. Check this out.
That everybody should have the opportunity to do. I wish these people would educate themselves just so they would know that I'm just there to have a good time.
She was different from her brothers from a very early age. And having, two boys ahead of her, they were distinctly the same. She was different. The best way I can describe it is I followed her lead. Wherever she led me, I followed. I was able to detect what made her feel happy, what made her feel uncomfortable, and I just followed her. That if they would do the research, they would understand that she does not have an advantage. I just think it's important for people to base their decisions or what they think on their own research. We have a long history of isolating marginalized parts of the community and passing policy that injures them. So we are the community du jour.
Community du jour, whatever that means. So that was Becky Pepper Jackson's mother, okay? This trans girl from West Virginia. And the future of women's sports relies on this case. And clearly, like when we talk about the problem in America is liberal white women, this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Becky's mother. Price, give me your thoughts about that interview and what were your takeaways from her mom?
Where's the father? Hey, that's the main thing. Like, where's the father? Because She's like, how far can I go?
Oh, uncensored. Go
Oh,
Max. Go Max.
she's fucking retarded. Her little son is a little fucking fruit cup, and you saw this. Oh, and her two other brothers. No, bitch, it's a boy. It's a fucking boy. Like I really don't understand that shit. Like you coddle this faggot shit. Like you see this shit. Like no, what's that saying on TikTok? I know y'all seen that shit. 2, 3 years Dagestan and forget. They need that type shit. Then they ass somewhere else to be. They need to learn to be men. But y'all coddle this homosexuality shit. Now you got these little boys who don't even know they supposed to stand up to pee. It's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sad thing is that in all of these cases, you see a strong, like overbearing mother who lets the child lead. Just like she said, I followed this child's lead. I just followed where she took me. It's like that's the whole problem. It's not a she, it's a boy. You are the authority figure, you're the mother in this relationship. You are the adult. Your child's looking at you for direction. You need to correct these things that are not real. You know, this is a delusion. When we talk about like anorexic or bulimic people, we don't affirm their body dysmorphia. When they say that I think that I'm fat or I think that I'm big, we don't then go in and say, yes, you are fat, yes, you are big, keep eating, we don't do that, because that is not the way to treat their mental health illness. And I honestly believe it's the same thing when it comes to gender dysphoria. I feel like we shouldn't be affirming these kids, especially when they're so young. This child, Becky, in particular, Becky didn't even have a chance to go through male puberty. How do we know that Becky wouldn't have changed and maybe the testosterone would have changed their behavior, their thought processes? They didn't even have the chance to go through puberty. Their mother stole that chance for them by putting them on puberty blockers. It's heinous. It's awful. And it honestly, it's dark times when we're allowing gender dysphoric children to lead us, and lead us where exactly? Carmen, what are your thoughts?
So I feel like it's just unfortunate, especially for the children, that they make these life like changing decisions, because the kid could be just gay, right? And we don't know that because we didn't give the kid a chance to actually live his life, because obviously they did this in the third grade. And this type of stuff should be considered abuse. It should like you're abusing your kid at this point, because a third grader will say that they feel like they're Superman. And does that mean that they're Superman? And it's just really unfortunate that these women, these white liberal women specifically, they just don't have the guidance of men. Kind of back to what Price said, the men are missing in these situations, because no sane like family would trans their child in the third grade. Now, we're not even talking about adults here. And another thing that I wanted to say is that I think that a lot of these cases, when you look at how these cases come to be, I didn't even look into it, and I actually probably should have looked into how this case came to be. But what you'll find is these people will they don't really care about taking these things to like court or whatever, and you'll have people that are influencing them to take this to court so they can change laws. And we have to be mindful of that. We have to be mindful when people are being used, because why is this even a thing? We're talking about child abuse at this point. It's kind of ridiculous. I really don't care if like grown adults want to be trans. I just don't care. But when it comes to the advantage that these children would have over other children, it's just unfair. It's just like we're trying to just dismantle the Constitution and make it mean what we want it to mean.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then what's the point of Title 7? Or sorry, what's the point of Title 9 if it's not going to be there to serve the demographic that it was intended to serve, which is females that cannot compete with men? That is the whole point of it. And so now we have a delusional dysphoric boy who is either truly dysphoric and needs to seek some type of therapeutic help as to why they want to reject their natural biological body for and take on this identity that is not they're not a girl. They're not. They could identify as whatever they want, in my opinion. Like if you're over 18, which Becky was not when they first got put on hormone blockers, this was obviously guided by their parents. This was just like you said, this is child abuse. But like, yeah, if a grown adult wants to be transgendered, I don't have any problem with that, as long as it's not then, they're going and lobbying the school boards to get books in our kids' schools, or if they're trying to push policy and legislation to advance their proximity to children. Like, that's where I draw the line and have a problem with it. But if you're the old school trannies, or sorry, I don't even know if you could say that, but like the old school trans people, they used to just mind their own business. They lived in, they had their own enclave. They lived in their own, corner of the world, and they didn't bother anybody for real. They just lived their life. And, you saw one out occasionally and it really wasn't that serious. But now we're talking about other girls that are in high school, that are athletes, that are competing for scholarships, that are competing for positions on the team, that are competing for medals and for all different kinds of things, are now having their opportunities taken away by people like Becky and people like Lindsay, that either really are gender dysphoric, or they just didn't perform well when they were competing up against like alpha boys or other boys that were in sports, and they kept coming in last. So I think even Becky said that in an interview, that she did play on boys sports and that she was always coming in last. And then she transferred over to girls sports, and then started like beating everybody, which is like the common thing. It's the same thing that with the Leah Thompson situation. And actually, speaking of Leah Thompson, we have a clip of Riley Gaines. This is what she had to say when she was addressing these Supreme Court cases this week. Let's take a look.
Pissed off. I'm pissed off that we've reached a point where we seemingly have an entire political party who has diminished and erased our rights as women. That's exactly what this is. Don't let them frame it any other way. They love to hide behind words like compassion and empathy and inclusion. Let me be very, very clear. What me and what my teammates faced, it was not inclusive. It was exclusive, because we as women were excluded from participating, from competing, from calling ourselves champions, because we were sent the message, and there's lots of fingers to point. I mentioned the Democratic Party. You could point a finger at many different institutions, the NCAA being one of them. We were told loud and clear that our rights to safety, our rights to privacy in areas of undressing, our rights to equal opportunity, they didn't matter. They certainly didn't matter as much as the boy's feelings, the man's feelings, his happiness. We were told that mattered more than our rights.
Carmen, your thoughts?
I think that this is like basically it's kind of inverted, like to even allow a man into women's spaces. It's just like we might as well just say feminism has been conquered, right? We let men into the movement, and it really is unfortunate, because it's like women don't really have a say in this, right? Women, the majority of women don't have a say in what is going to happen here. This is in the hands of other people. And it is just like, I feel like I feel like our voices will be heard, because I don't think that they're going to rule in the favor of this boy. But I think it's just unfortunate that you have women that say they're fighting for women that is actually fighting against women. It's kind of confusing if you really think. And then it's like, okay, so anybody can be in here in this a part of this movement, then is what you're saying. The movement is for everybody. So why do we have the movement? Back to that. Yeah. So I think it's just it's going to take us somewhere that we will be more like more unsafe, you know. And women are act like they're terrified of men already. Like women already act like they're just completely terrified of men. but you want to allow them in your spaces. So it's like, how do men protect you, like, from that? How do men protect you? At this point, we might as well just make the bathrooms co-ed. You know, everybody can go just everywhere.
Well, there are some states that have co-ed bathrooms, like Connecticut. I remember when I was bartending, I bartended at Mohegan Sun, and at a club in Mohegan Sun, like when I was in my 20s, and there was a uh, co-ed bathroom in there, and the stalls went all the way down the ground. But still, like, you know, when you're looking in the mirror and you're fixing your shirt and you're like, you know, putting on lip gloss or whatever, like, you don't want to do that next to a man that you don't know or a stranger that you don't know, especially when people are drinking and it's like the nightclub. I get that you're just washing your hands, but people do more than just wash their hands. Everybody knows, all girls know that when you go to the bathroom and you're going out, like, you know, you go with your girls, like you might, you know, talk girl talk or whatever. Like, it's just a space that should be separated for a reason. Just like that video that came out just last week and went viral of a girl that was in Planet Fitness locker room, and there was a trans dude. Yeah, I should have pulled that clip up. There was a trans dude that was jerking off in a stall, and she caught him in the shadow because he was standing up and like making noises. And then they came in, and it was a trans dude, a trans girl. I mean, just the classification is just like, it's like word salad for me, because it's like it's actually a dude, but it's really a trans girl, is like how you want to explain it. It's just like it's doing too much. Like, I have to do mental gymnastics to just even get like a sentence across just to describe what happened. And he's like jerking off in a stall, and he's saying the same thing, like oh, well, I have a right to be here, like this is segregation. If you make me leave, like, this is against my rights. And the craziest part about this that I really want to get your guys' opinion on is the fact that BPG is what they're calling her, Becky Pepper Jackson, one of the cases that the Supreme Court is looking over. They are using the 14th Amendment, and they're using the 14th Amendment right here. Let me bring it back up.
It's the discrimination thing.
Right. Yes. The 14th Amendment. So yes. In Title 4, I believe it is. I wrote it on here. Yeah. Title 4 protections, which is like equal protection under the law. So and we all know where that came from, right? We all know that the 14th Amendment was drafted out of slavery. When slavery ended, the 14th Amendment was passed, at least the first version of it, and then the equal protection under the law was drafted to protect descendants of slavery and allow them to have full inclusion to the Constitution, because it was initially written that Black Americans were 3/5 of a person. And so the 14th Amendment came in to rectify a lot of that and allow descendants of slavery and those that were freed after slavery equal protection under the law, just like immigration, and the naturalization of the offspring came from slavery as well. And so now you have these other groups. You have transgender people now using the 14th Amendment protections to exploit their own dysfunctional like episode that they're having a hard time even articulating in front of the Supreme Court justices. Honestly, if you want to be honest about it, listening to this woman trying to like argue her case, it's just it's honestly, it's hard to watch. It is hard to watch because they can't even classify what a woman is. Like this lawyer, I believe her name is Karen. I have it written down here. She's trying to, and she's like a global attorney, which is like clearly you are, clearly you work some globalist, like leftist, Marxist bullshit. But she's trying to articulate to Supreme Court Justice Alito what exactly is the classification that she's trying to challenge, and like they're having a hard time doing it. And even the Supreme Court, Karanji Jackson, is trying to like can't even articulate it either. And it's like, how are we even here? Price, what were your thoughts about what Riley Gaines said?
I was gonna bring up the Planet Fitness situation, and I don't think that was even a trans person. When he came out the store, he looked like a regular dude and was just throwing that trans word out there. So I don't even think there's no line drawn. Like I can go in a female's bathroom, and if I say I'm trans the way that I look, you can't do nothing to me. So it's like, where do you draw the line? It shouldn't have been no. That line should have never been crossed to begin with. But I think all this started kicking off back when Obama was in office. It seemed like when he got in office, all this letter alphabet stuff started kicking off. And you get them an inch, and them motherfuckers took a mile, like, and they run a full force with that. Like, where's the protection? And back what Carmen was saying, like, if a male can dress up as a female, but the women are fighting for women's rights, are fighting for the black rights, isn't that similar to like blackface or something like that? Like,
Yeah,
it don't make that shit don't make sense. Like, how
it's
can you be a female
absolutely.
fighting for women's rights, but you got men pretending to be females, and now you fighting for their rights, and then the men are infiltrating the feminist movement. It's a bunch of jumbled up bullshit, in my opinion.
You know what I think too? I think that these elite, what they like to do is they like to, like when they brainwash people or they condition people a certain type of way, like women, they got women into feminism, no matter how much women think this was their idea. And the same thing with black people in the civil rights movement, they got them into the civil rights movement. I think they like to be like, okay, yeah, I got you in. Now I'm about to turn it around on you and see how deep I have programmed you. It's like a show of power almost. It's almost like a weapon that is being used against everybody. You have the women that are these ultra feminists. Like, are you a feminist to the core? And then you've been programmed so much, like, well, you're not a feminist if you don't let men in. And the same thing with like black people, well, you're not black if you don't vote Democrat. And it's the same thing. The things that go against you, it's like they get all of this power over you and they're able to get your emotions where they can just make you do anything. That's why you're seeing so much violence because that goes back kind of to the rhetoric that we see them push out. You get the violence because it's like they're programming these people and it's almost like trigger words that they give them. And they say these words and then they just go out and they go, well, don't, we're gonna have people that are going to exercise their rights. Yeah, we know what that means. You guys are gonna get violent. So it's kind of like this trick, or almost like they're laughing at us in a way. It's like because they just turn the gun around on you, and I think about that with everything. Like anytime I'm thinking about stuff and whether I support things or not, I always think about like, okay, well, what if they decide to use this against me? You know, anything in it. It's like a Palantir. Well, what if they turn that around on us? And you know what I mean? They want to use it for we'll start by using it for illegals. But eventually you guys are gonna turn it around on us. And I think that that is something very important that we should look at just even outside of just this situation because it's like they use the same tactics over and over again because they work. And
Yeah.
not enough people are hip to them.
Yep. Go
Riley
ahead.
Gaines said something. Riley Gaines said something incredible. She said, I mean, something true. She said they use words like confident words to perpetuate this agenda. I read Kamala Harris 107 days book just because I was like, let me see what she's talking about. And she
Mm-hmm.
was talking about transgender kids. And she was like, they need our health care. I know so many transgender kids and, and and they just need us and we need to support them and give them the care that they why are we giving kids what is it called? Gender
Gender
affirming care.
affirming
Like
care.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but they try to put it under this guise with these words that make it
I
sound so
wonder
pretty, so
where
sweet.
that's going.
It's weird.
It's
Hmm?
very
I wonder where
weird.
that's going. Like, I wonder where it's going because usually when they do things, they're like, "Well, we need it." Like, think about like, what is it called? Euthanasia. They're like, well, these people are dying. They're sick, like we need to kill them because they're sick. What type of human are you? You're gonna make them suffer, you know what I mean? So they'll start like, okay, well, we need to kill them for the good, but it always gets turned around into now we're killing people because they can't pay their bills. So like where is this going? Why do they need your children? That's what people should be asking. Forget the fact of all of the feelings and stuff, because that's what we're talking about, a bunch of feelings. Why do they need your children? is the question that I would ask. Why do they want your children? Where is this going to go? Because the thing that I've came up with is they are pushing confusion for like transhumanism. So when they are talking about merging people with robots, when they're talking about putting chips in your brain and they need to sell you on this idea, I think they need people to be confused about their identity first, right? We got to break down people's identity so they're fragile in that area, and then once we break their identity, we're already softening them to what we know we're going to do already, right? I'm so much into this problem reaction solution formula because I see it everywhere. And yeah, this is a problem. They get the reaction and they come up with solutions and they do it over and over again, but these are pre-made solutions. Like, you never had a choice, and that's what this whole illusion of thinking that you have a choice. We don't even have a choice here, right? Do you really have a choice? Because if all three of us had our choice, we wouldn't even be in court right now. This would just not even be a thing.
Yeah.
But do we really have choices?
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching our video. If you like what you saw there, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It really helps our channel grow, and we really appreciate all the support.